game. Who's that Joey? I want to know right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the MGF Podcast. This is episode 36 of the show with a temporary name where we talk movies and shows and games and Lego and whatever else. Joining me as always is the Lizard Man himself, Tait.
What is up?
What is up, Tait? This is...
Everybody, what is up?
Dude, this is our last show before the Rise of Skywalker.
No, this is just our last show. This
is it. We're done. We're done, man. We've had it. 36 episodes, never naming this podcast. We're done. No, but the Skywalker saga is ending this Thursday, Tate. And for those who have press screenings, Monday and Tuesday, so like day after tomorrow. But the saga is ending for the third time, Tate. We have arrived. We have had our beginning of the story, and now we have our end of the story. And we are going to see how this plays out.
Ross, I think I'm gonna commit genocide next week on Thursday. Something tells me that things are not gonna quite go my way. I gotta check the stream health really quick here. So guys, we're using new streaming software. Just to see how this works. It's a little bit more simplistic, a little bit more friendly for what we're doing here. This is so strange. Episode 36 is 3 suggestions down. It's so weird.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, that's weird. So instead of being the first suggestion, it's the third suggestion on our page. That's so strange.
Anyway,
well, I mean, we're good. We're live.
YouTube is slowly going to shit, so these things are to happen. But that's all right, because The Mandalorian Chapter 6 came out Friday morning, and it was a huge return to form after last week's mess, because Chapter 5 was hot garbage, and now
it's good.
The show is already back on its feet. Just one episode later, but it is still a shame that one of those episodes was wasted.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into it again. But this is exactly The Mandalorian Chapter 6. Of course, no spoilers to start off initially here, but this episode, also our last episode of The Mandalorian before our eyes, was exactly what The Mandalorian is. The show going back to exactly what it needs to be. Right? So this is, to me, Chapter 6 is a proof of concept for how you do a smaller scale story for a show like this. Not just going to Mos Eisley just because for blatant nostalgia bait and then doing absolutely nothing with your main character with nothing horribly written other side characters, but actually placing the Mandalorian in an authentic scenario with authentic characters that are living and breathing in the universe, and then showing some new part of the galaxy or some new, corner of the galaxy. And in this case, I don't want to spoiler what that is, but it's just, this is how the Mandalorian should be.
Yep.
He's back in his element. There are bounty hunters. There is a real tangible connection to the state of the galaxy and how things are run, how things operate, and all of the characters aren't written horribly. It's not like it's revolutionary or game changer or like it's a big deal, but they're real. They're genuine. Is one of them over the top? Yes. But all, like most aliens in Star Wars are. Hondo Ohnaka is over the top, but he's great. So, I mean, there's so much here that makes this episode great. Even if the story, once again, doesn't move forward at all. We get some insight into Mando's past again, which is nice, but the overall story, once again, doesn't move forward. But at least the other 90% of the episode is great.
It's fun.
And you've got
fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fantastic, man.
I feel like people, when talking about the other episode, last week's episode, at least it's fun. Right? No, it was boring. It was such a nothing heartless episode. And
It wasn't just boring or fine. It was just, I mean, the dialogue was written so bad. I could barely stand it, man.
But in this episode, we have genuinely fun dialogue, genuinely fun interactions, genuinely fun situations that our characters are in.
And none of it relies on nostalgia bait.
No. Everything in this episode is new.
And I think that's so important. Because as you can see, Chapter 6 proves you don't need to go to Mos Eisley for no reason. You don't need to rely on anything that came before to craft something new like this or something exciting. I mean, this episode, I guess, to kind of conclude the no spoilers section, is great because they really do as much as they can with the 33-minute runtime, right? So you've got a fantastic set of characters. You've got a fantastic series, set of sequences with incredible set design and really great concepts that kind of control those sequences that really add such a variety to the flow of the episode. Because you get the banter between the characters, you get the sort of figurehead mastermind controlling the prison, that idea. You get the almost horror movie like elements to some extent. You get so much personality from the Mandalorian again because he has actual real characters to bounce off of.
Yeah, very true.
Unlike the last episode where Pedro Pascal could barely do anything.
Yeah.
With those people. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
But here you've got something really solid. Again, even if the story doesn't progress, that's still a problem. Everything else in this episode is fantastic. So what do you think, Tate? Any no spoiler thoughts before we actually talk about the episode?
Well, I just think it's a very thought-provoking episode in the sense of, this is what the show was. This is what we lost for a little while. This is what the show is going to continue to be. Right? It renews a lot of hope. It really does. It's hard to say that this fixes, last week. Because, it's still scary. It's still a scary thought. But, it renews my faith in this show. Really does. The fact that they can have this tangent, the fact that they can have it, and to have it be so creative, so fun, it's what the show should be. It's what the show needs to be. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's Star Wars, man.
I love the directing style of these people.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni doing this his first time did a really great job with the pilot. Episode 5 was not as impressive, obviously. However, man, Deborah Chow and Rick Famuyiwa. I hope Rick Famuyiwa gets some episodes to direct in Obi-Wan because, he's just got some fantastic people working these cameras, man, and working with this cast. Even Bryce Dallas Howard at episode 4. With her debut there, just excellent. And this I don't know that my faith has necessarily been restored in the show. I'm still, after chapter 5, man, I'm still going to always be kind of cautious and sort of looking over my shoulder, so to speak, with this show every week. It's not just I'm not hopping out of bed like Guy was for the first 4 episodes to make sure I see it as quickly as possible. Because ultimately, the story still has gone pretty much nowhere, which is fine. As long as at least the episode itself, the other 90% of the actual episode is great. But again, you still have that problem of it's only 8 episodes, so it is bizarre that they really, the story really took such a backseat. But if they can deliver something like this, despite that, I'm almost okay with that, right?
Yeah, dude.
because I guess Tate, we'll just go into spoilers now. So if you have not seen The Mandalorian, Chapter 6, then this is your spoiler warning. We're going to be going through everything in depth here. So that being said, Tate, this is a Prison Break episode.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, man. I really wasn't.
I mean,
it was fun.
I can't really recall just a straight up like prison heist episode like this, or prison heist anything in Star Wars.
Yeah, you do get the prison heist with Areco Hardin and Cad Bane.
Right.
And,
yeah, that was great.
Man.
In Clone Wars, yeah.
Yeah, which, dude, going back and looking at it, I mean, it's fun, but
that was different. That was like this is different because obviously that was one of the big prisons on Coruscant.
Right. Yeah. No, this being a space prison, that's pretty cool.
And yeah, man. And what I immediately loved was the opening sequence, right, where he boards this station with the Razor Crest, and he's seemingly in contact with this guy here who was he's the guy who played the corrupt cop in Batman Begins. Flass, same guy here with the gray hair who's in the first sequence.
Yeah.
And
standout casting. Mr. Krabs is in this episode.
Oh yeah,
Mr.
because
Krabs is in this episode, guys.
Yeah, so when you get aboard the space station, I don't even know what it's called. The station, it's just kind of,
it's kind of there.
A way station for bounty hunters and outlaws, run by Ranzar Malk is his name.
Oh, that's a weird ass name, dude.
Yeah, but the guy with the gray hair kind of seems like a Malk. That kind of lines up.
Malky.
He's very Malky. But yeah, dude, you get introduced to the squad. So you get Bill Burr, of course, who is just Bill Burr the whole episode. I kind of wish they gave him like a scar or a cybernetic eye.
Yeah,
or an eye patch.
It's literally just Bill Burr.
Made him or like painted his skin dark blue or something. Just like it's just Bill Burr, which is fine, man. I mean, it's great to have him here, but it is just distractingly Bill Burr the whole time.
The first thing I said to Ross is like, "Wow, that was distractingly Bill Burr."
Yeah,
it sucks that that's the first reaction to come out of this episode. I will say that.
But he's not bad. He's great.
He is. He's great. Yeah, no, but it is Bill Burr.
Yeah, so he's playing Mayfeld, and like you said, Mr. Krabs, Clancy Brown, the man himself, of course, also Savage Opress in the Clone Wars, is playing this random Daveronian Berg, and
big man.
Yeah. Big guy. At first, the whole episode, I'm like, I heard it in the voice, but the prosthetics are so,
it's hard to tell, man.
They're so heavy, and you can't even tell that it's him under there. But I heard, I was listening to the voice the whole time, and I'm like, does Clancy Brown just sound like every kind of like brooding, hulking guy? So that's why I think it's him, but it's really not, because you can't tell it's him at all. But yeah, no, that is definitely Clancy Brown there, playing the Deveronian Berg in the episode.
Mr. Krabs himself.
And I love the droid, Zero. At first, I thought it was the same... At first, I thought it was the same droid from the original planet where all this began, right? With the Imperial Remnant and the Guild there, with Grief Karga and the Mandalorians, because you see one of these droids there. In Chapter 3, when Mando's getting Baby Yoda off world, and so I thought it was the same one, but it's just the same kind, and it's really cool because, again, it's another droid, just like BB-8, K2SO, BD-1, IG-11, where they just give it a personality and they nail it, right? And so I really like Zero in this episode, and he's carrying around an E11 too, and he's just kind of the wisecracking, smart-ass, droid who's there to keep everybody organized and make sure things go as efficiently as possible without really being too stuck up about it, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I love the droid Zero, the whole episode. He's great. And yeah, and then of course you got what's her name? Xi'an, the super shady light purple Twi'lek. She's pretty cool, man.
She was fingernails on a chalkboard for me every time she was on screen.
I get it. Believe me, I thought the same thing. We've talked about this, where it's like the actress really hams it up, man. I mean, she's hissing and shit. It's rough, but not unnatural for the Star Wars universe, right?
It doesn't pull you out, man. It doesn't pull you out.
I mean, we have seen. I mean, it still is realistic for the Star Wars universe, and it's actually kind of cool to see such a shady and seemingly batshit crazy Twi'lek.
Right, yeah, because all the Twi'lek we see in Star Wars media, they're all calm and collected, man.
Right, and they're very noble, like they're champs in duel, like the freedom fighters of Ryloth, or they're victims, right? They're being enslaved, whether it's by the CIS or whether it's by Jabba, I mean, really, in Legends
the Zergonia episode. There's a lot of Twi'lek.
Zygerians, yeah, dude. I mean, I think maybe Darth Talon in Legends is probably the worst Twi'lek that I think we've seen.
Oh,
otherwise, you just have a bunch of scummy Twi'leks throughout the Clone Wars that wear eyepieces and stuff that you can see. But it's cool to see one live action.
I'm sorry to do this, Ross, during the podcast and whatnot, but we don't have an age requirement here. Dude, man, there's some fucked up Darth Talon stuff on the internet. Holy
God.
shit. I knew this guy in high school, and we were talking about Star Wars during math period, and he just one day emailed me a bunch of Darth Talon lewd images, and I was like, dude, I blocked the dude, and I was like, never talk to me again.
What the fuck? Dude, that doesn't surprise me.
The Star Wars
that really doesn't surprise me.
So gross, man. I mean, these people.
Oh man, I mean, some of the Reylo stuff it has gotten that bad.
Oh my God, yes, it has.
It's shocking.
It's. I haven't looked at any of it. Thank God.
It's incredibly. I purposefully steer clear of even coming close to seeing any of that shit. But all of that aside, it's cool because he boards the station, right? And Ranzar Malk is saying, no questions asked. And he's saying, you're welcome here anytime. And he's already manipulating the Mandalorian despite their shared history together, because he just wants the Razor Crest. The Razor Crest is from pre-Clone Wars era. It's off the grid, not really being tracked it wasn't being tracked by the Empire, and now it isn't by the New Republic, and that's why they want to use it to spring Quinn from this prison transport, because apparently their buddy, this purple Twi'lek dude, who's apparently what's her name? Xi'an's brother, is the one who got not just taken by a rival gang or syndicate, but actually straight up arrested by the New Republic. And it's cool to see that the New Republic really did kind of have it together for a while, right? Where they did quickly and swiftly install a new order, right? The galaxy was not just in turmoil. It wasn't obviously you still have outlaws and chaos and it's all still there, but the New Republic really got a handle on things. And I think this episode really kind of gives you a hint of that when they do actually board the Razor Crest and you get to see the inside of that transport, and it's cool, man. But when they're on the Razor Crest and they're all in there taunting the Mandalorian about his history with Xi'an and why he doesn't remove his helmet, and Berg coming close to actually removing the helmet. I mean, everybody's trying to take his helmet off in this episode, and he's just ready to kill them all at any moment. I mean, he's just waiting for one of them to pull something.
I don't know if he's waiting to kill them because of what happens at the end of the episode.
But yeah, dude, and then especially when the hatch opens and they find Baby Yoda in there, and then Mayfeld is talking about making it his pet and just harassing Mando the whole ride. I mean, you just feel the tension. I mean, Mando, he's just ready to snap and kill them all if he has to. Mm-hmm. He's really, he despises that he even is working with them. But he's also back in his element, right? He's used to dealing with this. And yeah, man. And I loved how Zero also, because he's not so stuck up and he's not totally perfect, doesn't even give them a countdown to strap in. He's just, we're coming out, we're coming in fast, and they jump right alongside the ship, no warning, and I mean they fly around the inside of the Razor Crest like they could have easily broken their necks.
Oh yeah.
With how much they got jostled. And Baby Yoda getting jostled and flung around and hitting the floor was a cursed sight that I hate that we even had to bear.
Cursed images, man.
Yeah, man. But I loved seeing like Mando try to protect Baby Yoda and kind of try to put himself over Baby Yoda to make sure that Baby Yoda wouldn't fly around anymore inside. But yeah, it's cool, man, because then when they actually get inside the prison transport, the first thing you recognize is everything is bright, well lit, clean, white. Everything looks like the Tantive 4. It looks like the ship just came straight from Alderaan. I mean, this looks like the fanciest prison transport ever made. It's nuts. So when they're walking through and all the prisoners are looking out through the little grates, and you see like the same species as I think Rio from Solo is in there.
Yeah. Jon Favreau, little monkey guy.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty great. You've got Xi'an hissing at them as they walk, and it's good, man. It's solid, because the first thing that I thought about looking at this whole prison transport inside is how fancy it is. I mean, the New Republic, I mean, it's just crazy how shiny and new and pristine everything looks. And I appreciate that, man, because that's new. That's an addition. That's creative. That's keeping your characters in the universe. We've never seen how the New Republic runs things. You know, this is all totally new. And then especially when the security droids show up after Berg blasts the mouse droid.
Dude, those are some old Republic-looking droids, man. Those are so cool.
I mean, you have like these freaking HK-37 droids that the New Republic's using, basically. I mean, these...
Yeah, they look exactly like HK series. Exactly.
I mean, they're no joke. And it's just so interesting because you get this insight into how the New Republic is doing things. And it's not much, but it gives you an idea, and you can start to imagine what the rest of the New Republic's operations must look like. And
it's the same.
It's so cool.
It's the same reason we appreciated Cara Dune talking about being a shock.
You're not on an Earth-like planet. You're not just retreading territory. No, they are inside a New Republic, super fancy prison transport with these new and unique security droids that seem more advanced than usual, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
I loved it. I mean, this is how you keep the smaller episodes interesting. You know, you don't just go back to Mos Eisley just because. You do something like this.
Something that's
and I loved it, man.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing that's nice, in my opinion, is we're getting an insight into the Star Wars universe. What does a prison transport look like? We get that exactly. Right?
Right.
It's just this is what made episode 3 great. We saw the way those 3 factions were interacting. This is what made episode 1 great. We got, this introduction to this universe. I mean, it's just like I said, like we've said,
and of course
the show needs to be.
The whole squad is planning on betraying Mando, and so at first when Mando seems to run away from the droids, at first they're not really helping, seemingly almost because maybe they will kill Mando, but instead he flanks the droids and takes them all out by himself.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of conflicted, Tate, because on one hand, I really like that Mando, first of all, displays competency in this episode, right? He's back in his element. He knows how to handle bounty hunters and outlaws. He knows how to handle droids. And he's not getting jostled around by anyone or anything this episode. And that's not... And I guess to kind of rephrase, nothing that he can't handle. Right?
Yeah.
Because, of course, those things do happen. He does get betrayed. He does get... he doesn't take down each of the bounty hunters easily. But it's cool, man, because the Mandalorian, it really felt like we were right back in the infiltration sequence with the Imperial Remnant.
Right.
You know, he's...
I mean, our main character in this show should be badass, should be, near omnipotent. I mean, that's why you come to watch this show. He's a Mandalorian. He's supposed to be this powerhouse, this force of nature, and we get to see that again.
Yeah.
And it's so appreciated, man. I mean, I love protagonists getting beat up, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I like how many shots he keeps taking, or if I would prefer that maybe he move a little quicker and kind of... But it also adds so much intensity to each of the altercations when Mando keeps taking hits. Because you're constantly wondering, when is the Beskar going to break? How many shots can he take?
Right.
And I think even in the episode, Xi'an does stab him kind of like close to the neck, like around his shoulder.
Right.
The Beskar doesn't protect him from everything.
Right.
So I think, we're so used to main protagonists always dodging bullets or laser bolts and never getting hit, always because they constantly get lucky. Whereas the Mandalorian, that's just not happening. He's taking hits constantly throughout this show, and I think it actually does kind of add a lot of weight to each action sequence.
Yeah. I like that he gets his ass kicked, I like that it shows how stable his armor is. I mean, we spent an entire arc getting this armor. We spent 3 episodes getting this armor. So it's appreciated. It's appreciated that it is working the way it's supposed to, that we do get to see firsthand, holy crap, it was worth doing all of this. It was worth all of this work. It's cool, man.
Yeah, that's why the Mandalorians were the Beskar.
Exactly.
But of course, that brings us to when they arrive in the main control room for the prison transport, because inside you've got a rebel warden, essentially, a New Republic warden for this ship. But it's a newbie, young guy, and it's freaking Matt Lanter, the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars, and just all around a great actor and just a really cool guy. I mean, I just saw him in Chicago like 7 months ago. Matt is just so awesome, and it's like, I had no idea he was going to be in this, and it makes for such a tense scene because you're getting this prison sequence, and it's really cool. The droids are really great, and then the variety really kicks in when you get to Matt Lanter, because then the Mandalorian now, with his morals shifting and becoming more protecting of good people and those who don't deserve what the galaxy throws at them. He's protecting Baby Yoda. He's protecting the people on that backwater world. He's protecting the mechanic, as much as I hated her in episode 5. And so now he's doing his best to defend Matt Lanter's rebel. I think his name was like Tavon or something.
I don't know how you remember that shit, dude. I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah, he said it at one. I have to rewatch it. I know that's not correct, but it's somewhat close.
Yeah.
And it really seems like Matt Lanter might walk away. And they're really, all about to turn each other. The Mandalorian pulls his blaster on Mayfeld, and they're just saying, put it down, and they're saying he's not going to walk away alive. He's seen their faces. You don't know what's going to happen. And I really thought the Mandalorian was going to be able to save him. But for once,
I didn't.
Xi'an just tosses a dagger right into him, and then he just drops dead. And you feel really bad, because Matt Lanter really played it up as this young, innocent new recruit to the New Republic, just doing his part, never thinking something like this could actually happen.
Right. There's a lot of this episode kind of lays the groundwork for that New Republic overconfidence.
Yeah.
Right? They have this pristine ship. They have these new pristine HK droids. There's a lot of confidence, a lot of arrogance, and only having one man on the ship
Right. And I mean, Matt Lanter, he, like I said, he just plays it up so well. Because of course they weren't expecting him to be on there. The whole thing at the start of the episode is that they're only expecting droids, and so that's why it creates it's a surprise. It's a tense moment. And now this did kind of make me question Tate. Like, Matt Lanter is such a great actor. He was phenomenal, like all throughout Timeless, his series about time travel that he did on NBC. But I kind of found myself wondering, why would you waste him there? Like Dave Filoni and the director squadron coming in at the end, that's one thing. But Matt Lanter,
in any episode. You could have that X-Wing director squad in any episode.
Right, but it's like, now Matt Lanter can't be any other human character ever again in Star Wars. That was it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame.
Oh yeah, dude.
I really do.
We can't have him in Obi-Wan, which would have been great. Dude, imagine Matt Lanter and Obi-Wan, interacting.
Dude, just imagine if they gave Matt Lanter the role of Toro Calicrap, and he actually made a character out of it.
Toro Calicrap. I
mean, if you put Matt Lanter in that role, maybe Chapter 5 could have been good. But I really enjoyed it, and it made for a great scene with him. But now Matt's gone. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people can play that nervous role.
Exactly.
That frantic.
But then they bust out Quinn, the Twi'lek they came for, Xi'an's brother, and there's just no honor amongst these two siblings. I mean, they don't really care about each other, and Quinn could not care less when they get separated when Mando takes control of the ship. But they all, I mean, Quinn couldn't care less about a lot of them, even though they are all there risking their lives to bust him out. He's more than prepared to just let them all die, including his own sister. And, it's cool because I think the guy who plays Quinn really made the Twi'lek feel authentic.
Yeah.
He really feels like a genuine Twi'lek. The body language, the way he talks, it doesn't just feel like a guy in Twi'lek makeup. That guy feels like a legitimate native from Ryloth.
So this is the first time we ever get to see a male live action Twi'lek. And when we watch the Clone Wars, when we watch even Rebels, you see a few male Twi'lek. They're very confident. They're very barrel chested. They stride very vehemently, and I think he did that very well. I mean, it really wasn't a human being on the screen. It was a Twi'lek.
And man, it's just he really seems like somebody who could have known Shan Syndulla, who was just right there and broke off from the rest of the Twi'leks at some point, left Ryloth. He just seems like an authentic Twi'lek sleazebag, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about the breakout, because the breakout's awesome. I loved that.
Yeah, man. So when the Mando is inside, and then the security droid walks by, and he grabs it, yanks him in. It was really cool because these security droids, man, they know how to adapt. I mean, it's brutal. He pulls it in with the grappling hook, and then the security droid immediately sticks the blaster in there and just starts trying to hit. I mean, like a human would. And then he tears the arm off, and I wasn't expecting all the oil to just spew all over the door. I thought that was a really cool touch.
Yeah.
And how cool is it that the Mandalorian repurposes the arm and then sticks it inside the port exactly like an astromech does, right? Or any other droid that has the splicing tool. I didn't even know you could do that without being a droid. Like, I always figured the droids, like, there were wires inside that splicing arm that kind of, where they, I figured there was some kind of unique process inside the splicing tool that only a droid could do. But no, the Mando just takes it, just does it no problem. And it's really cool, though, and kind of inventive. And then he gets out, and then he's in control now. He's in control of the ship. He's at the control center. And then he cuts the lights. Everything goes red. Blast doors start closing. And it's just the Mando's game now. And he's the predator hunting prey for the rest of this whole escape. And it's so cool because it's not necessarily like a horror movie, but it is very much like a sick game show, essentially, right? That's kind of the vibe they go for, and giving the Mando complete control for how he's going to either kill or ambush each one of these bounty hunters. And it's just so well done because he doesn't have an easy time taking each one of them down. I mean, especially Xi'an. And by the time he's done taking each one down, you really think that that's it, that he kills them. Because the Mando has shown no remorse for bounty hunters. I mean, when he's trying to get Baby Yoda off-world, he's killing everybody he sees. And yes, he is displaying a new moral compass, where he's like kind of getting more noble. He's more kind and seemingly more, he values life a bit more. But it almost seems like he tosses that to the wayside to kill all these guys. But of course, at the end, it's revealed that he just actually dragged them all into one cell. But I love them highlighting the futility of these outlaws, right? This sleazy guy, Twilight Quinn, just is willing to betray and abandon all those who have come to save him just to save his own skin, and is saying he'll triple the pay that Mayfeld gets. And Mayfeld just goes along with it. Not that he has much choice, but it's almost like they're all so manipulative that there's no winning in how they interact with each other and how they do things, because you never know. And ultimately, of course, that winds up not working out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude. And then when Mando realizes that the tracker, the kind of dead man switch failsafe that Matt Lanner's Rebel was holding up, that would call the entire New Republic squadron and basically bring hell down on them, had actually been switched on. Oh man, how cool is it when he finally takes care of all these guys, confronts Quinn, drags him back to that station, walks out. You get to the end with Malk there, and it's seemingly, no questions asked, right? He's actually being honorable and abiding by his own policy, even though all those guys didn't come back. And then he pretends to pay Mando, probably not even 3 times the share, like what Quinn was promising, but Mando just takes it and leaves anyway, because he's leaving the freaking tracking fob there for the New Republic to come find them. And then, oh my god, when the New Republic Director's Squadron with Dave Filoni, our guy, and then Rick Famuyiwa, who directed this episode, and Deborah Chow all come in, man.
So I text Ross about it, and Ross, you didn't realize that it was Famuyiwa and Chow initially. That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, at first I was like, okay, there's Dave. Now Dave is forever this New Republic pilot in this episode. That's fine. But I didn't realize that it wasn't just Dave and Matt this episode, but that also Deborah Chow and Rick Famuyiwa were in there. It's like, they went nuts with the cameos this episode. I mean, that's 4 big cameos in just 35 minutes. I think that's hilarious. And obviously for people like us, we notice it. But your average Joe watching this, they're not going to recognize Deborah Chow or Rick Famuyiwa, maybe Dave Filoni. But a lot of people didn't even recognize Matt. And so it really is only noticeable for people like us, which is fine. But it's like, I just figured maybe they would want to be more sparing about where they trickled the cameos in for the different directors. But nope, just all at once, one shot. Dave, Rick, and then Deborah Chow, just all in one shot. And dude, we were talking about this right after the episode aired, or not aired, but was released, and it was like, dude, the New Republic doesn't screw around.
No way.
They pull up on this station and just decimate the hangar. They kill Ranzar Malk, they kill Quinn, and just blow up the whole hangar before they can go kill Mando and the Razor Crest as he takes off. I mean, it was like, they didn't blow up the whole station, but I was like, I was telling you, did they check for innocence? Could they see? Were they eyeballing it? I mean, damn. It's almost like they just assumed and then just bombs away. I mean, like, there's still very much, it very much seemed like a guerrilla tactic, you know?
Yeah, man. No loose ends.
Yeah. But no, man, it was great. The episode was great. Baby Yoda had a little altercation as he's hiding from Zero while all this is going
That
on.
was
And
cute.
I wonder if Zero is actually planning to just blast Baby Yoda.
Oh,
I mean, what a horrible thing. What horrible words to even breathe. But I mean, maybe he was just
Ready.
Yeah.
Just ready.
I don't even think Baby Yoda would have been able to take a stun round. I mean,
No.
thank God
No way.
Mando shows up.
Baby
Baby
Yoda would
Yoda
have fucked him up with the
sensitive.
Force, though, man. I mean, he would have.
It seemed like he was about to.
Yeah,
And
he
so
really
when Zero
was.
explodes from Mando's blaster, it seems like Baby Yoda, of course, looks at his hand like, did I do that? And I thought that was great.
Yeah, dude, that's funny.
But overall, man, again, story does not progress. And that's pretty much 3 episodes in a row where just about next to nothing happens for the story.
Okay. So we
But-
do at least the Mandalorian came here to get paid, and at least he gets paid.
Yeah, I mean, the Mandalorian, you're still in it with the Mandalorian's life. So I'm sorry, there's no defending episode 5.
No.
But episode 4 and episode 6 here do make sense
Yeah,
in
episode
the
4
context for the Mandalorian.
Right, for context, in case anybody forgot. Episode 4 is trying to find a place to hide out, which he does succeed in that technically.
Right.
He hides out for a little bit of time. And now in episode 6, he needs money. He needs a paycheck. But, I mean, you can interlace more... How do I say this? More striking and valuable parts of his life. If he needs money, you know, like he did in the last episode, maybe put the Imperial, maybe put Werner Herzog's character in there somewhere to up the stakes. I don't know, something so we have this overall story.
Yeah, I mean, the Imperial Remnant and the rest of the Bounty Hunter Guild are still completely detached and have yet to catch up with Mando. And now we have only got 2 episodes left. And Tate, if the last 2 episodes of season 1 here are not direct and story focused, we're going to be we're going to be waiting until next year.
And that sucks. That's not okay.
You
You
know,
should be able to
and a
watch
lot
a
of
full
people,
season of a show.
I've had a bunch of people say to me like, "Oh, but it's not like it's all supposed to wrap up in season 1." It's like that's not the point. You have to arrive at some destination with the narrative. You have to achieve something to at least maybe justify a cliffhanger until you wait to season 2. We've gotten nowhere with the story since episode 4.
So with episode 7 and 8, what I think is that they have to bring the threat of the guild and of the Empire down on Mando in episode 7. And episode 8, something needs to happen to resolve that. He either kills Werner Herzog's character, or he, you know, gets Carl Weathers. What's his character's name?
Oh, Grief Karga?
Grief Karga gets Grief Karga off his tail, something like that, and then you have something at the end that keeps us excited for season 2. But if they just go all out cliffhanger, man, I'll be disappointed. There's got to be, you know, conclusion and then cliffhangery thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, a story has to conclude. There has to be some sort of wrap up, so we can move on to new stories next season.
Yeah, I mean, but then there was also a statement from Favreau kind of alluding to the idea that a lot of this is going to just extend into season 2, and that's a little concerning.
Yeah. I mean, the Bounty Hunting Guild, you know, the bounty on Mando's head should kind of be just part of his character, you know?
Like, say Baby Yoda, his story doesn't finish up, right? And they don't drop him off somewhere by the end of season 1, and he sticks around for season 2. That's fine. But you need to at least have dealt. You need to. You have to have like they need to. The Imperial Remnant, led by Moff Gideon and the Client, need to be dealt with, I think. And then we need to move on to better villains, bigger villains.
Yeah.
For season 2. You know.
Cad Bane, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just hope that we achieve some sort of bookend for this part of the story. But yeah, dude. that's pretty much it for Chapter 6 of The Mandalorian. And it was great. Huge return to form. Still cautiously optimistic going forward. But this is what The Mandalorian needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree, MGF.
So yeah, man. Otherwise, now we're just waiting until Thursday. I'm not really waiting. I'm working on making a new Rey and also a Kylo Ren helmet updated for his new costume in Rise of Skywalker, which is the same costume, obviously, aside from the new red cracks in the helmet, now that it's fused together. So hopefully I'll be able to have a new video out covering those two figures, either on the day of release or opening weekend for the final Skywalker saga film. Yeah. It's worth crying more than anything.
Ross,
Yeah.
dude, there's so many ways to make just the sequel era more interesting, man. I mean, we're just getting a rehash of themes from the 70s and 80s. And it's frustrating, man. It is really, really frustrating. I was thinking about it the other day, and imagine a Star Wars sequel, where the Republic becomes this almost near oppressive, disgusting government, right? Where people aren't quite happy, but people are protected, right? So they're kind of at the will of the New Republic, and so a not a terrorist cell, but a new government rises in the First Order to try to take back power, to try to put people in positions of power. I mean, I was thinking about it, dude. Making the Republic they're not villains, but to make them the unsung heroes, to make them the flawed protagonists would have made it so much more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like that idea, man. That the First Order, of course, is Sith. Of course, they're
Tate, it's honestly all just gotten so exhausting to talk about. I mean, at the end of the day, The Force Awakens was our beginning with so much potential that promised so much, and then they really failed to execute on all the potential that this trilogy held. And I still don't believe The Rise of Skywalker is going to be enough to pull it together, reel it back in, bring everything full circle. You can't just jump to the end of your story without having the middle. And obviously, to us, The Last Jedi was just so incoherent that it really just was not a functional middling point for the story and the characters. And it just kind of left a gap that The Rise of Skywalker can't fill, because The Rise of Skywalker needs to conclude all 9 films and not clean up a mess. It's the beginning and the end of the story, and I'm looking forward to it. Right, I love the cast: Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, all of them. And it really is a shame that I don't think the full potential of those 3 is ever going to be realized in Star Wars, because of how much time was wasted on other side characters or subplots or just various points in the story that didn't make sense, that stood in the way of character development for the 3 of them. And so I cannot wait to look at Rise of Skywalker. It looks visually stunning. Some of ILM's best work.
Well, I mean,
it sounds amazing. I mean, the film, despite relying on more deserts, more forests, more of the same shit that we've talked about endlessly on the show, you still do have that really interesting crystalline location. You still do have wherever the hell Lando's cooped up, maybe, or wherever they go for that, that village that seems shoved in the side of that ice mountain or whatever is going on. It looks like... But ultimately, at the end of the day, if Palpatine is alive, which I'm sure he is, the Skywalker saga was built upon Anakin Skywalker and then Darth Vader destroying the Sith. That was the purpose of the entire saga. And Rise of Skywalker directly negates all of that and stands in the way of that. And I think...
goes into the garbage.
Yeah, because, of course, it was Anakin's mission. It was Vader's mission as the Chosen One to do it. He was the main character, and I've had no problem with leaving that whole story behind with the Sith having been destroyed. I was going into The Force Awakens. I wasn't thinking about Anakin anymore. You know, even Last Jedi left it all at the door, right? Would be nice if we were able to get Anakin as a Force ghost. Will he truly show up in the film? Probably. At this point, I'm not going in with that expectation. But if he does, that's great. But it still negates everything that has come before, and it's Anakin's story. Now with Palpatine being brought back in, it is once again Anakin's story, which of course is now not the case because the whole film is, of course, devoted to Rey. But it's just a shame, man. I can't imagine that this was always in the cards for JJ. I really believe that he was probably always going to take Snoke to a very different, more fleshed out, more important place as the overarching villain of the trilogy. And instead, with Rise of Skywalker, him and Chris Terrio had to sit down and just kind of make do. Right? And that's fine. As long as the film is at least entertaining. That's all I'm looking for, man. Just at least be entertaining. I'm not expecting a good story.
Yeah.
But if it's at least enjoyable to watch, then fine. You know, it's kind of like Solo, right? I'm not mad that Solo exists. I don't dislike the film. And it is entertaining to watch. But it's just there. It's just it's not what it could have been. It's just kind of, you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of expecting a similar feel, where it's like the Rise of Skywalker is always there to watch and enjoy, and it's going to be large scale. It's going to be incredible to look at. You're going to have a lot of the characters reuniting. You know, Force Ghost, Party City, but I just hope that they can at least maybe deliver a satisfying conclusion. To Palpatine, I hope that they gave Ian McDiarmid some really good dialogue because he was incredible throughout the prequel trilogy, and I hope that they can at least do Palpatine justice.
But you can't.
And
do
I hope
justice without Anakin, man. You can't.
Exactly.
You
I mean,
just
it's
can't. It's not possible.
But here we are, Tate. I mean, we're only 5 days off now, and thinking back to the 2015 Force Awakens and where we would be as Star Wars fans when the time would come to go into the theater to watch Episode 9, I really imagined us being in a better place and just kind of being in a better place, you know, as Star Wars fans in terms of just being able to be excited. But it would be dishonest. That's all, you know? It would be dishonest because, I mean, watching the new clips, man, the TV spots, as a Star Wars fan, there's something instinctive that just is gnawing at me to get excited, to get hyped. I mean, that new Kylo Ren scene they released looked incredible. Sounded incredible. But it would be dishonest of me to pretend like this is likely going to be a good narrative. And Star Wars is not just for 12-year-olds. Star Wars is for everyone.
God, did you hear there was an interview that Jon Favreau did with Empire, maybe magazine? I don't know what magazine. But he had a meeting with George Lucas, and George Lucas said, you know, Star Wars is for kids. It's for the younger generation to learn.
That's the one thing I disagree with George Lucas on.
Now the thing is
that may have been how he intended it, but Star Wars evolved far beyond that, and all of the lore that he established and the incredible wealth of detail in the prequels, the Clone Wars, you cannot say that all of that was installed and implemented into the series if it's just for kids.
What needs to be said, and this is, I think, George Lucas's intention, but Star Wars is for families, right? It's a fantasy. Star Wars is not a sci-fi. Right. It's a fantasy. It's about knights and love and romanticism of war, and it's to inspire young kids, right? Because that's all the story is. That's all a fantasy is. It's supposed to be inspirational and fun.
I mean, we just watched Empire Strikes Back, you and I, last night.
Yeah.
And
oh
everything,
my God.
everything Yoda says and Luke's trials with him, still to this day, are inspirational.
Oh yeah. Now, let's talk about that after we have this conversation because I do want to bring some stuff up regarding that. But yeah, Star Wars is war romance and romanticized war, and that is very childish. The Knights of the Round Table, right? The old King Arthur books and the old serials. They're for kids, ultimately, because that's who they're trying to inspire. But adults appreciate them just as much. And I feel like George Lucas, when he's making these statements, needs to say these stories are for families. They're enthralling for the adults, and they're entertaining for the kids.
Yeah.
But dude,
And
can we just? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and so I've never agreed with that statement, but I mean I don't. It's hard to continuously be this negative about Star Wars because I mean we're only going to get this one more time, right?
Yeah.
If they hold true and they actually do finish it and leave it this time, and really go off into the future of Star Wars without the Skywalkers and the main saga as a crux. This is it. This is the final week, Tate, in our lives where we get to be part of any build-up to a Skywalker saga film. And I want to be excited. It really sucks. It's not nice. It's not nice to be in the sidelines. To watch everyone else get excited, but have to stand aside just to be true to yourself and honest.
Well, I mean,
because
it's
this is coming from the guy. Like a lot of people, I don't talk about it a lot ever, but this. I mean, I drove with my family 4 hours away for the premieres of The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and The Last Jedi to ensure that we would see it on the best screen possible. And I'm not. This is the first time for a major Star Wars film. I don't really include Solo, where I'm not doing that. Where it wasn't even an option because I did not want to lie to myself and pretend like the story is going to reach the same level of the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, or even The Force Awakens.
Or Rogue One.
It's dishonest. Or Rogue One. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to enjoy it. I'm hoping the new characters are okay. I'm hoping they really maximize the time that we still will get with Rey, Finn, and Poe. I'm hoping that Palpatine is at least going to be serviceable and will be an honorable, respectable, consistent portrayal for how Palpatine should be. Over 100 years old now.
God, he's so old.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'll be there. I've got tickets for 3 different showings. I'll be there. But I can't get excited. Not like we used to. Not like The Force Awakens. Not like Rogue One.
The Force Awakens was incredible. Just think about that, dude. Star Wars had been dead for 10 years almost. I mean, dude, that is insane to me. The impact Force Awakens had. That was our first Star Wars movie, Ross. When you really think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
When Revenge of the Sith came out, we were all babies. We were all little kids.
Right. I mean, as far as seeing Star Wars films in theaters, yeah, I mean, I had only seen Revenge of the Sith, I think, once in theaters. And then I saw The Phantom Menace 3D in 2011, and then, yeah, The Force Awakens was the first new Star Wars film since Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it was a whole new experience. And it's been a really great experience, right? I mean, despite The Last Jedi being such a colossal disappointment and shame for the franchise, they're always going to hold on to the memories of The Force Awakens and Rogue One. Disney walking straight out the gate with 2 majorly successful films that we all loved and enjoyed. And even though The Force Awakens wasn't George's original vision, The Force Awakens was what it needed to be, and it was an exciting, exhilarating film, even though it relied on the original trilogy, and they intentionally designed the film to mirror the original trilogy in just about every conceivable way. Still what the world needed, regardless of what I think, regardless of what you think. That's what the world needed. That's the Star Wars film they needed to make, and it worked. And it's still a great film to watch, despite all of that. And
the only problem I have with Force Awakens, man, thinking about it, is the lack of Poe in the movie. If they're trying to build that team dynamic, I mean, I think that might be the flaw of the trilogy as is. I mean, I think we've said
for me, believe it or not, I mean, two things that I might take issue with is killing Han so early before we can have the reunion with the original trilogy characters.
Yeah.
And then also the lack of inclusivity with the rest of the universe. It was a complete, The Force Awakens. This conversation has been had countless times. It was a complete departure, right?
Dude,
no familiar species, no familiar planets. I mean, we were, in JJ Trek Wars, right?
Right. We've talked about this. I think everybody has.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to retread and keep saying the same things. I mean.
Yeah, but the thing that I want to bring up that is kind of a new subject that people are talking about, or not even that people are talking about, but people are forgetting, is that, dude, this team that we're supposed to believe is a thing is non-existent. Ross and I are rewatching the original trilogy.
They've been working together for a year off screen, Tate.
Ross and I are watching the original trilogy, and even in A New Hope, when everybody comes together, immediately they start having this sense of camaraderie and action and togetherness, and that is just completely furthered and bettered in Empire Strikes Back. Right? Mm-hmm. They have the time to grow together. They aren't forced together. Like in Rise of Skywalker, these characters are going to be forced together, and it's so frustrating.
And I mean, listen, man.
That? All you have to do to fix that is keep Poe and Finn together after that Jakku crash. That is all you have to do. And then The Last Jedi, make the entire side quest a Finn and Poe ordeal.
Yeah, I mean, and none of it. It's not like this. Even John Boyega echoes these same.
Oscar Isaac looks depressed in a recent interview during the.
Yeah, I mean, the whole cast looks kind of exhausted and done with the whole thing, but I mean, John Boyega has been pretty vocal about how hard Last Jedi was, because they were all separated and it really wasn't the story that JJ was making, and how they all breathed a sigh of relief when JJ was confirmed to be brought on, because that structure was back. Yeah, man. I mean, I feel bad because, again, I talk about this with everybody. It's like I love Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, and they're all so great. They found the new gang, right? They are the perfect three actors to shepherd us into the future of Star Wars, and we got the beginning, and now we're already here at the end of it, and they're done already, and we didn't. It's like I feel robbed.
4 years of Star Wars instead of 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
When you look at the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, 1999 to 2005, 1977 to 83. It's just, we weren't given time with these characters, man.
No.
4 years.
So, on that note, I think I'm done. And we're more than likely going to have a full podcast rebrand for our Rise of Skywalker episode this coming Sunday. And maybe we'll even do a video or videos on it before then.
Yeah.
And it should be pretty wild. I don't even know, Tate, if I'm going to do a video on the Rise on my main channel, because I'm just going to do the showcase with Ray.
Yeah.
Maybe like the following week.
That's fair, man. That's definitely fair.
We're really going to have to sit on this film, I think.
Yeah.
And, but we will be back this weekend to talk about Rise of Skywalker at length. And yeah, pretty weird. Pretty weird take because this feels going through this film. It feels more awkward than anything, and it's just not how I pictured it many years ago. But on that rather depressing note, thank you everybody for joining in for episode 36 already. Holy shit. 2019 has been a weird year, but this podcast has been awesome so far. And thanks everybody for hanging out with us and staying with us along the ride. It's been good.
I just can't believe we're finally coming up with that new name.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. Remember, this is the inevitable society.
And the way.
And do you know do Bye, guys. We are inevitable. We live in a society. This is the way. Thanks.